I'd like to call our, hello, good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. Ah. You don't want me to sing. We're going to get started this morning. Alicia Reese, Commissioner Reese, is on her way. She said we could get started, so we will do that. This is February the 17th, our staff meeting, and before we get started, I'd like to take a moment of silence for Reverend Jesse Jackson, who passed last night, for his family. If you could just take a moment of silence. Thank you, amen. Did you want to say anything? Not really, okay. We have one item on our agenda, headquarter hotel update. Paula Boggs Muthing, 3CDC Chief Operating Officer, and Caitlin Felvis. So welcome. You look like you don't hear.
Hi. Good morning, everyone. I just want to make sure everyone has a copy of the presentation.
Yes.
Great. That's great. Okay, great.
And Paula, you've got the clicker there, just so you know.
Wonderful. Thank you. Okay. So thanks very much for having us. We're very pleased to be here today. I'm with my colleague, Caitlin Felvis, and we will present to you some information on the Convention Center Headquarters Hotel. So just first, an overview of the Convention District. You are all very familiar with this, but we have the reimagined Convention Center, and you can see the Convention Headquarters Hotel site just across the street there. Next to it, the Convention Center garage, and this is altogether the Convention District, $1.3 billion in investment. And this is the plan that we have presented before. And so the Convention Center renovation, the hotel and the garage, and the costs there next to it. As you know, the Convention Center, a $264 million project. You were all at the ribbon cutting. Very pleased to see you there, and it was an exciting day. Here are the numbers of our MBE, WBE, and union participation. We did have significant savings here, at least $14 million, 10 of which will be committed to the Convention Center Hotel, and $4 million of which will go into the garage, and that will release the county of the $275,000 annual commitment. Just an overview of the garage. As a reminder, we purchased the property in 2023. This was acquired with assistance from the city and county, and so that $4 million savings from the Convention Center will relieve the city and the county of this annual commitment. It will be a 780 space parking garage. It will be quite an amenity just across the street, and with a sky bridge connecting to the Convention Center. And right into the Headquarters Hotel. Of course, we're all very excited about the Headquarters Hotel. 700 rooms, over 60,000 square feet of meeting space within the hotel itself. And then we will have an outdoor terrace, full-service restaurant, hotel bar. It will be quite a beautiful hotel. As you know, the developer is Portman Holdings. And we have the contractor, the design team. A lot of parties have been working to pull this together. In particular, thanks to Holly Chrisman for all of her work in helping us get here. So this is the sources and uses for the Headquarters Hotel. So you can see the public sources, or private sources here. About 500, well, it's quite a lot, $500 million. And we have about $40 million in costs that are not represented here. And those will be for capitalized interest and the debt service. So these are the sources that will go to repay the bonds. We will go first to pay the port and state bonds, then to turbo redeem the senior bonds, and then to pay back the city's loan. Of course, they've invested $50 million. I think you are all familiar with the city's contribution here, but they have a $50 million loan, $10 million in cash, and then $40 million in proceeds from a bond issuance. And it will be repaid by the 75% of excess pledged that we saw in the earlier slide. And the development agreement between the city, county, and the hotel developer. I believe you received the agreement already, and we are doing our best here to achieve 20% MBE, 10% WBE. And our expectations here are that the hotel will be completed in the fall of '28. And so we are looking for approval of the TOT abatement and appropriation to the hotel public financing. We have several public protections built in here. For the project savings, the public parties are eligible to share a project cost savings, which can be used to pay down principal on the city loan. And any of the savings within the project budget will be split 50-50 between Portman and the city. There is an incentive recoupment payment. There are several operating covenants in order to protect the public parties to ensure that the hotel is at the level that we expect it to be, and also that the convention center is performing at the level we expect it to be. And then there are, of course, the room block agreements. So we are here to ask for your approval for the exemption and pledge of the county TOT, authorization of the development agreement, and the cooperative agreement between the port, the city, and the county.
Thank you so much for your,
Commissioners,
thank you so much for your presentation. Jeff, you had something you
yeah,
wanted to
just
say?
briefly. So the presentation talks about resolution on February 12th, obviously. That would be coming forward to the board on the 26th of February.
I'm going to open it up for any comments or questions. And I was asked to go to Commissioner Driehaus first.
Okay. A couple of things I am noting as you made the presentation. I heard you say, and I don't want it to be lost, that there were cost savings from the convention center. Could you describe that a little bit? I think this might be a learning moment for everyone. If we can realize cost savings from one of our very large projects. So what were those attributed to?
Well, I think we, we were really trying to make sure that everyone was performing to the best they could, and I think we really owe a lot to our general contractor, who was able to realize about $14 million of savings, and we were providing oversight in order to make sure that we could invest those into everything that's in the convention district. So about, as I said, $10 million that will go directly into the headquarters hotel, and $4 million that will go to the garage.
Yeah, no, I think it's great. I just wanted to highlight it because you said it, and I thought, oh, we need to say that again. And yeah, I think it's great that it's going to support the garage and the hotel that obviously will support the activity of the convention center. I also noted that you described the MBE, WBE, and union goals. Those are they reflective of what we did over at the convention center? I feel like they're almost exactly the same. Is that true?
Yes, very similar.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's something, I'll speak for myself, that was important to me as we talked about who will be working on the convention center and now on the headquarter hotel. Significant distinction between a public project, which is the convention center hotel, or the convention center, versus the convention center hotel. But I am glad that we have Portman acting as a partner in this way and recognizing in this community we are trying to hit a couple of different goals here. Never mind the output of a great hotel, but we want to make sure that the people that are building that hotel and working in that hotel reflect this community. And so the MBE, WBE goals are very important, and the labor goals are also important to make sure that people are getting paid a fair wage and have benefits while they're on the job. So I'm very, very grateful for the recognition that that's a community priority and that Portman is right there alongside with us. One other thing I wanted to ask you, so you went through a lot of numbers, and it's obvious that this is a collaborative. I know we've been talking about this for years at the county level, the city level, at state level. And so the state is participating. And let's go to the financial page where you've got the monies in.
That's slide 9.
Yep. And so I just want to put a finer point on this as well. So the monies in are related to the state of Ohio. Am I right? The Ohio Strategic Community Investment Fund.
That's correct.
And then the TMUD is also the state. Yes. The port and state bonds then, and then the city loan. So the county's participation, I just want you to refine that a little bit for us because we are going to be asked to take some action next week. What exactly is the city's part or the county's part in all of this?
Well, the county does not have to come out of pocket directly, so the county's commitment is the tot abatement only.
Okay, so that's the agreement that we are forging here with the city and the state. Okay, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Vice President Reese.
Okay, thank you very much for this presentation. I have a couple things. One is, because I have really been on the hotel, that's been the big thing. And for me, how this all started was about hotel. And hotels has kind of been last. It started with Millennium. I wasn't here then, but we spent about $53 million to take that down. And now we have a space that doesn't make any money at that location. I still have a problem with that. I've asked Mr. Aludo to look into some things. One was to see if we could control the liquor license so something can come back to the taxpayers. Because not everyone, even though I'm in the tourism business and space and as book conventions, everyone won't be in convention center if you're not there for a banquet or if you're not there for an event, a paid event, or if you're not there for a convention. Our majority of our taxpayers will not be able to go down to that convention center, or they may go to a Sharonville or somewhere else. But $53 million, and we never put the hotel back over there. The second thing is, we took down a hotel that had 800 rooms and replacing it at a new location with less rooms, 700 rooms. And that's something I had been asking a lot about, and they kept telling me there's no way. People that's represented 3CDC before you got here, they stood there and they're on tape to say, we're gonna have the 800 rooms. Commissioner Reese, you're not telling the truth. We're gonna have 800. We're here today with not 800 rooms. And a very expensive hotel. But it is important because you can't get conventions without having the hotel space. The next thing, though, I wanted to bring up that is important, we signed, in fact, and it just bothers me a little bit, is when FIFA came, the World Cup people, and they weren't even local taxpayers. And we had a lot of pressure to sign this big document that FIFA presented, promising all these things. Mr. Ludo's signature was on it based on us. And in this document, it said we would have a hotel up by 2026, which is this year. And it would be able, and I kept saying, will we be able to make that time? Oh, we absolutely would. Now, thank God we didn't get it, because now we're talking about 2028, and the hotel kind of went on the back burner. And that's something I question, how can it be on the front burner when we're talking about World Cup, but it's now on the back burner, and we need to, we can't really book bigger conventions without having the hotel space. So those are the things that I had issues with early on. Now we're at this juncture, and the document that I received think it was Sunday, Mr. Ludo sent it. You know, I don't tell him I don't do nothing on Sunday now. I'm with the Lord on Sunday, but he sent me something on Sunday. And on the development agreement, it has City of Cincinnati underneath it and Ohio Municipal Corporation. Okay, got it. That's the city manager and all of that. And you come from there, so you understand that, how it works. But then they said, well, don't worry, y'all ain't really doing too much. But then it has Board of County Commissioners of Hamilton County, Ohio, and Ohio Political Subdivision. Okay, and then it says Cincinnati CH Ohio LLC, a Delaware limited liability company. And it doesn't say since the City of Cincinnati City Council or City of Cincinnati Mayor, but the Board of Commissioners, we're kind of on the hook. We're on the hook on this. So with us being on the hook, I wanted to make sure that, and I haven't had a chance to go through every piece of this, because like I said, Sunday and then Monday was a holiday, and then we're here today, and I had been asking for it. I want to explain to people when they say you're not putting up any money, that sounds very good, but we are giving up future revenues. So the hotel motel tax, which is AKA the TOT, there's a fund for all hotels in Hamilton County. And it goes into a pot. And then that pot, we agreed on some things that we're going to pay for. We've got to pay some other debt. We've got it's a center debt. We got some other debt. We've got Sharonville debt. We have some waterfalls, CVB, Cincinnati Black Music Walk of Fame, because I don't want to use I don't want local taxpayers to have to go up on their home taxes or anything like that. So we use out-of-town tax money. What I'm concerned about is that now we're going to build this hotel and all revenue. So if you go to this new hotel, all tax revenue would go to pay for this hotel. Sounds great. However, if we are not expanding, but we're only shifting rooms, that's a problem. So in other words, if they come in for the music festival and every hotel in Cincinnati is booked up all the way down to Sharonville, and now the new hotel comes up and people always want something new. And they say, well, I'm not gonna stay at the Embassy Suites out in Blue Ash, or I'm not gonna stay at the Westin downtown or whatever. I wanna be in the new hotel. So now they shift to the new hotel, and those dollars only go to fund the new hotel. So now this pot of money that we have that's funding all the other debt, the waterfall, the things I've named, that fund goes down, and then Mr. Ludo comes in with a report and says, oh, the money's not as high as we thought it was, and so we won't be able to do these things. And so they said they brought in a consultant, and I challenged that consultants have been wrong sometimes. We've got a problem right now with Children's Levy. They didn't come in completely right because they can't predict the economy. So I wanted to have a protection measure that would say that, hey, if your consultants are right, and everybody said they're so great, and I'm not challenging it, then we won't have a problem. But if we hit a tough time, a COVID, an economic downturn, we've been here when I was here when we had boycotts and we were down to 2% occupancy in the hotels. So I've been there. If we get to that, these things that we have agreed on and we voted on, they will be able to be taken care of. And then say it might be 1 year, it might be 5% less that we could do over here. So I'm concerned about the shifting, and I asked Mr. Ludo to look into it. Every time I ask to look into something, it's very interesting. As an elected official with over 218,000 votes, my things are not taken seriously. I always get something back to tell me how we can't do something. And they got back with the bond. I didn't get to talk to the bond counsel people myself. I didn't get to get a second opinion. You know, like going to the doctor and they give you something. You say, let me get a second opinion. No second opinion. It's always everybody is on the same message. Of course, I wasn't surprised that they sent me something at 7:40 something this morning to say, oh, our bond counsel says if we do that, it'll mess up the whole funding model. And if I was to just accept one opinion, I would say, okay. But I wasn't shocked because every time I ask a question as an elected official, elected to ask the questions on behalf of the taxpayers, somehow the administration, they get with you guys or whoever, and they come back and they always say, we just can't do it. So I'm just concerned. I'm not an attorney, but I thought we should have ran two models. One that protects the taxpayers, so all these things that we voted on will be guaranteed paid. And then if the consultants are correct, we have no problem. And I thought it would be just an easy little fix, but it seems like they just want to hand me something and rubber stamp everything. And you know, I don't even know why we meet, because you kind of don't want to know our opinion. When I had the meeting, it wasn't with you. When I had the meeting earlier, I said, hey, you got me a PowerPoint. Can we look into this? And this was not like yesterday. I didn't ask this yesterday. This was something I asked a while ago. So I was asking if we could have something that could protect that. I'm willing to accept we didn't go with 800 rooms. We only going with 700. We got $53 million that we spent, and we ain't making no money on that site. But at least let's protect what we voted on, particularly since the contract says Board of County Commissioners. Now, if it just said Hamilton County Government, which probably would be a little better, then I can always say, well, you know, there was a guy named Jeff Aludo that was here during that time. But no, on a serious note, it says Board of County Commissioners. So I just wanted to bring those things. I haven't had a chance to you and I talk because I know you're just getting here, but I wanted to bring those things forward and would hope that we could get something, I don't know what it is, that shows a little bit of protection on that front is what I'm looking for.
Well, thank you, Vice President Reese. I know that the hotel has been very important to you, and certainly we agree, along with our colleagues over at Visit Cincy, that the hotel is going to drive, has already started to drive a lot of new interest and traffic to the convention center itself. So I think we are seeing now, just in the promise of the hotel, that there is going to be a considerable increase in the number of room stays. I think with respect to some sort of guarantee related to the TOT, relative to the TOT abatement, I think as probably your bond counsel has noted, that does introduce a level of risk and uncertainty that could put the entire financing in jeopardy. I think we were struggling with a way to balance how to find the right kind of financing structure that would keep the county from putting in cash or having some sort of annual appropriation, and instead, have something from the TOT itself so that we could support the debt issuance and that we would be able to sell those bonds to people who are willing to invest. And so that is the reason that the structure exists as it does. And I think, there are other options which do include the county putting in cash. I think my understanding was that was something that the county wanted to avoid. And so that is why this is the structure that has been proposed.
Yeah, what I'm trying to make sure is that it sounds good right now. What doesn't sound good, because I've been here when the hotel occupancy went down single digits. Nobody was coming. Nobody was staying. We've seen what's happening in Vegas. Tourism is struggling. And what I wanted to do is not have to put any money on the back end. So it sounds good, no money on the front end, but then if your consultant comes in wrong, then we're putting money on the back end because we've got another set of debt over here. And I know it's getting into the weeds, but we got to get into the weeds because we're dealing with a contract. So that's what I feel. And I feel like, I don't know this bond counsel. I'd love to have talked to them directly because I think they should have ran two sets of numbers. If we were to, right now we've had a lot of shifting. And I'm hoping that the hotel will bring more business. We're not going to get larger conventions. I've been up against Kansas City. I've been up against Louisville. Conventions are not about how nice your place looks. It's about they're selling real estate. They're selling exhibit space. And if you don't have more space, it's like a grant. When a grant comes in and it says, well, you have to live in Cincinnati. Well, if you're living in Blue Ash, you can't even fill it out. Even if you want to say, man, Blue Ash is so beautiful, and we got this, they don't even get to that because you can't even qualify. And so they do the same thing with exhibit space. There's conventions that come and say, hey, you got to have this much square foot. If you don't, I don't care how beautiful the place is. You don't even get to that part. How beautiful, and we got outdoors, we got this, you're out. So with the hotel, I want to make sure, because so far with the convention center, I know we got some new stuff coming, but the boat show, we had it when we wasn't paying $260 million for it. It's back. Reds Fest, when we had a convention center that was supposedly no good, they were there, and all we're saying is they're back. And what I don't want to happen is that we shift from all these hotels that pay into one pot that goes toward debt that we've already assumed, right? And then all of a sudden, all we do is like Reds Fest. They're back, but now they're back to this hotel. And when I asked when we would be possibly making any type of revenue, they said probably 30 years is what your folks told me. Well, 30 years, you're gonna need a new hotel, and it'd be time for something new. What I'm trying to make sure is that we don't come back and say these other things that we have in the debt, now we have to put in money because we don't have money in there. So I was just trying to put some type of protection, and was hoping we could have some type of compromise of some type of protection, or either some mention of it, so that, people see this 30 years from now. They won't say, who in the world was down there during that time? They can look at it and say, well, at least they had looked at it or considered it. So I'm willing to be workable, but I just think it needs to be somehow mentioned in something that says, hey, we have this, the consultants are saying it's going to be here, but we do realize that we're going to need to make sure that these other hotels are filled as well in order to meet our financial obligation there. So that's what I was asking. It might not be to you, but it might be to Mr. Aludo, but that's something that I would hope to do so that we could all be on the same page, is what I'm thinking. So not to mess up the model, but also make sure we're protecting ourselves on the backside. I think you're protecting us on the front side, but just make sure the back door is protected too. So that's all that I had.
Okay.
Madam President.
Thank you. Mr. Ludo, did you have any comments you'd like to make?
Commissioners, not a whole lot more than what Ms. Boggs-Muthing had indicated. I think so. We did hear from the Reese office that they wanted to explore ways to protect some of the policy priorities that the board had previously voted on that are paid through the residual waterfall dollars. So we did look at that, had conversations with Commissioner Reese as we were looking at it, and before bond counsel had opined on it. I understand the concern about wanting to make sure we're as flexible and as creative as possible. In this particular case, though, I think this is one where when we're looking to sell bonds for an issue and we're looking to make bond payments, that if at any point in time you're telling the person that's going to buy that bond that our ability to repay is in any way contingent upon how an outside metric performs, that's going to increase either the cost of the bond or it's going to prevent people from wanting to buy the bonds. So as Ms. Boggs-Muthing indicated, that was a choice we made instead of putting county dollars into the project up front. I think that over time, the expectation is that this new headquarter hotel, and that the renovated convention center is going to do more than just redistribute rooms, but will actually grow and increase the size of that pie, which will lead to growth long term in everything in the waterfall, including what falls to the bottom line as well. But I understand that up front, until that happens, there's going to be concern. So, Commissioner, that'd be my only additional information.
Thank you. Yes.
Okay, it was mentioned that we met in my office. We had no real discussion on this issue. When you met with me, you said you were talking to bond counsel. That was the end of our conversation. The only thing I received was 7:45 a.m. before this meeting saying we couldn't do it. And I'll tell you that one of my issues is that every time I bring up something on behalf of the taxpayers, it requires us to be creative. It's always, first of all, it takes a long time to get back with me. Now, outside people call to the county, and we can stop, drop, roll, and get moving. But when a commissioner who's been elected brings up something, it's always, we can't do it, it's delayed, I'm getting memos at 7:45 at 10 a.m. meetings. And I just find it unacceptable. I already knew the answer was no because it was no when I brought it out of my mouth. So why meet with us if you don't really want to hear what we got to say? I am not the rubber stamp type of person. So don't come bringing me a PowerPoint and you already met behind closed doors. You already done all your work, and you really don't want to hear what we got to say. I believe that it could be done, but I can't do it because I don't control the bond counsel. I don't know who they are. I haven't talked to them. I haven't gotten a second opinion. And even when we try to make something where it could be unanimous, you don't want it because you want to stuff it down my throat instead of looking at things, because I think 7:45 or 7:25 at a 10 a.m. meeting is unacceptable. And to say that we talked, the only thing you said was bond counsel looking at it. I've seen things you look at quicker than when I, as a elected, I mean, that's disrespectful to the 218,000 people. Now, maybe we come up with, we can't do it, but I wanted to at least roll our sleeves up and say, is there any mention it can be? Can it, oh, no, we can't do it. Can it be run some other numbers? No, we can't do it. And of course, there's great talking points to say, oh, we don't want you to put any money up front. We're giving away future revenues. Almost 30 years of future revenues to be given away. We're tying the hands of future commissions, boards. 30 years is a long time. The faces we see now won't be around here 30 years. So all I'm trying to say is, at the very least, from a compromise, because I'd like to have I'd like to say it has to be, but could it be even some mention that we looked at this and we understand that we base this on what the consultants have given us, and if the consultants are right, we're able to do it. But there may be, if they're not right, we at least looked at it. So that's what I'm asking for. And I know this is my first time talking to you, so this is probably your first time hearing it. But every time we bring up something on these deals, it's always, here it is, we got our talking points, and let's rubber stamp it. And if you just bring up any little question, it's, oh, we can't do it. We don't talk to the bond counsels. We don't talk to this person. We don't talk to that person. It's high risk. Well, it was high risk. Why did you sign this document to the World Cup? And if we got chosen, the hotel would have had to be up this year. And we talking now 2028. So don't tell me we cannot make adjustments, because we just did one here. We got a legally binding document in front of me that was signed, Mr. Ludo, that was signed, that said you were going to make sure we have a hotel up for right now for World Cup. And today we got a document saying we're going to have something in 2028. So there are adjustments, and I would hope that there would be some flexibility or some sentence, some little thing to at least say that we looked at that part, because I have been here when the hotel revenues were all, not in this, but I've been on the other side, when hotel revenues went down for stuff we couldn't control, obviously. So That's what I wanted to say and clarify, Madam President.
Okay, Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on one thing. There's so many things, but the one thing I just want to make sure the public is aware of, because we did have a negotiation around protecting the items that fall to the waterfall and the tot during one of our budget processes, and we did want to make sure that we were preserving funding for maintenance, particularly of the Black Music Walk of Fame. Also, the CVB was part of that negotiation that our offices were engaged in, and so I understand the concern about the tot and not, we have a situation where we can't have this be something that bond counsel has to worry about, or they're not going to buy the bonds. Okay, understood. So you can't tie the tot waterfall to the issuance of the bond. I think the question then for us becomes, well, we've got some things that are being financed with that waterfall. How do we make sure that those are protected? And so during the negotiation early on, particularly related to the Black Music Walk of Fame, we made sure that if the tot doesn't cover the maintenance that is needed for that facility on an ongoing basis, then another fund, a restricted fund, which is the parking revenue, will pick up the difference, and so that maintenance will be in place. And so I just wanted to highlight that. It's been a number of years ago since we talked about it, but we did, and Commissioner Reese, I think it was your idea actually to have some creative eyes on how we continue to fund that, and so there is a backstop for that if this fund were to not generate enough in the waterfall. And it's complicated because it was the 350 for Black Walk of Fame was first, CVB was second. Anything above that up to $1 million was split 50-50. I mean, there were all these machinations in there, but the parking revenue is meant to backstop that. So I know my chief of staff was in that room. I was not, because those were negotiations around a budget. But I did want to highlight that those things that may be impacted are being protected. And I don't remember the same for the CVB, but since the CVB is part of this agreement, I figure they know about that, and I'm not going to worry about that because that's something that they can worry about. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to make a couple comments. As you know, we've been talking for quite a while about, but where is the headquarter hotel? When are we going to get an update? I remember Steve Leeper coming in and said, we're working on it, we're working on it. So I'm just pleased to see that it's on the agenda. I'm also pleased to see with the convention center that, as we talked about, leveraging the money that was left over, the timeliness of that build. I'm just really happy about that. I'm happy about the inclusion that you indicated in your PowerPoint, the MBE 22.5%, WBE 13.7%, and the union 61%. So I'm very pleased about that. I'm also pleased about Caitlin, who I met with, and the great summary that she gave me and the questions that I had. Lots of questions, but clarifying some issues and concerns for me. And I'm also very happy about the fact that we are actually going to bring this forward February the 25th to look at how we want to vote one way or the other on this. It's obvious that we need, with this new beautiful convention center, first financial center, we need an upgrade. We need the skywalk, we need the garage, and we need a hotel to accommodate the people that come to the convention center. And I'm just, they will come. Build it, they will come. And I believe that. I'm on the CVB board, very happy to be a part of that. And we're, as we talk, we have arrangements out to like 2030 or whatever for people that are trying to come. So we need it now. And I think we have worked together to leverage the monies, and I'm glad that we don't have to put any money in, but we're looking at the TOT as a vehicle for the county to supplement what we want to contribute. So I thank you for your presentation. Yeah.
I just wanted to get just a point, because when we talked about it's not just the waterfall, and we're talking about a budget versus binding contract. And we saw that we can see that with the stadiums. They have binding contracts. It doesn't matter who the commissioners are. Once it's in the contract, they got to do it. So we had a budget that's yearly, right? And that's where all this is the waterfall. And it's not just the waterfall, it's all the debt that we've got to come up with 18 million from sources and uses, 17.33 million, and then you get down to the waterfall, and our total is about 13.69 million. And that's good, but each year we look at the budget. So that means budgets can change. Well, we do this. This is a contract for 30 years. And all I'm saying is, how do we put both of these into the 30 years? And so on a conceptual, I've been for the hotel, and we can get into how pretty it looks and all that. But we also have to pay attention to what's a 30-year contract and what's a year-to-year vote on budget. And so that's where I wanted to make sure that we can put this, slide it in here. So now it's 30 to 30. It's both on a binding contract, whether whoever is going to be around for 30 years. That's what I'm talking about. So when I ask these questions, I'm getting down to this binding document, because that's what really matters. And I'm hopeful that I'm very aware of the thing. That's why I put it in restricted funds, but that's year to year versus a 30-year, and it says City of Cincinnati, and then it has Board of County Commissioners. So I'm just trying to figure out, and I don't see why it'd be such a struggle and such a fight if we already agreed. How do we make it come together so that we've got, everybody has a binding document? So that was my point. I'm hopeful maybe between now and then we can work out one sentence or two, which, I would hope we could get a sentence that would recognize it or correlate it within maybe the resolution or something, mentioning it. But I'm just trying to think as creative as possible, but I know it is doable. And then we can get the beautiful hotel.
Thank you for coming. Appreciate your
Thank you very much.
presentation. Is there anything more to come before I'll make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Commissioner Summer Dumas?
Yes.
Commissioner Reese?
Yes.
Commissioner Dreehouse?
Yes.
Thank you.